Welcome to episode 115 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to all the people who was listening before, and welcome to all the new listeners. One day I will get that right? Before I start, all you know where to find this, right? On Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible anyways, listen to things, tune in radio anyways, listen to stuff. You can find the podcast and also on YouTube. I just want to ask all you, please, to help me reach 200 subscribers on YouTube before I reach 200 episodes now. You can do that for me? I feel good now, man. And also join TikTok. The youth plan tell me to join TikTok. Salute the boy Christian. How long he tell me come and join TikTok. He said TikTok is where all the views are. So I'm finally on TikTok at the Corey Shepherd Pod. Corey Shepherd Pod, like Corey Shepherd, you know what I mean? Now I keep saying every week that I'm going to start this thing with the culture, which is what I always hear to talk about. I must reach the budget at some point in time, right? I will talk about the budget and all we're going to come together and cuss the government collectively, right? I don't know what people waiting for. If we cussing the government, we cussing the government. But before we do that, boy, I see something here that's too funny to leave alone. It's too funny to let stand on its own. A headline on an article from the Express reading, Duke knocks Farley over rise in crime. Watson Duke is knocking Farley Augustine over a rise in crime in Tobago. These men now fall out last week. These men was best of friends and they fall out last week. All of a sudden, he knocking this man over. Listen, when God make man, he take his time and make politician. He make a politician one by one. I don't know if them making your own image and likeness because like them is a higher goal when it's not a politician. Because these two men was just bosom buddies. Getting on another in power and thing, and they walk into Tobago and everybody nice, everybody happy. As soon as they fall out, Duke telling people about a rise in crime. That Farley here for. Let me just start here. Let me start here. Yeah, my friend. Whoa, my friend. Yeah, my friend. I'm here with my friend and them. We partner straight till the end. We are real money to spend. And there we beat up the PNM. From long time, it's me and all my brethren them used to realign. Oh God. And even when money was low, we was still fine. Cause we used to say that all that we go live big time. So when I step inside, I bet you don't have to ask me. Who I'm rolling with, or if I here with my family. If I on the road in Barbados or Miami, or even in Trinidad, you know who with me. I'm here with my friend and them. We partner straight till the end. See, I real money to spend. So if you know who's a real brethren. Pop a bottle, hey. All right. It's not that kind of fit. I want to immediately at the beginning of the episode salute Marshall Montano on his national award here. Wait, let me go in order this thing. Let me pull out my notes and make sure I'm doing this the right way because it have award and it have award. Let me start by saluting Dr. Roshan Parasram for his national award. Let me go to the article now. First and foremost, you can see what you want about him, whether you like him or not, whether you feel they do a good job in the pandemic or not. One thing that I will always salute Dr. Parasram for, and I want to extend that to the whole medical team. So I'll get to their awards as well. But whatever the decisions were, I know the whether it's anti-vax or you're anti-mask or you don't believe in COVID and COVID is not a real, whatever you believe, you had to agree that Dr. Parasram in particular, being the person who was addressing the nation on a daily basis, had a level of poise and calm and professionalism that was unmatched. It was refreshing to see. I would love to see our politicians behave like Dr. Parasram from time to time, where they could just come and deal with the issue. And one thing that stood out, and I spoke about it on this podcast, I remember early in the pandemic, when I say early in the pandemic, within the first couple months, you know what I mean? I remember a reporter asking him, well, Dr. Parasram, we want to ask you about your personal health and how you're dealing with the stress of these times. And he basically outright said, listen, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about the people's business and what we're doing and the new measures that's in place, what the numbers are.
The man was just matter of fact. He ain't seen him smiling, he ain't laughing, he ain't trying to gain any friends. He not debating no social media people like me who come in and blah blah every week. He was just basically stating the facts as he know it and putting it out there and setting policy that was at least, even if it did not accomplish the outcome, his intention was always to keep us safe, to manage our way through this from a medical perspective. And he was no politician in all this. And for that alone, in my humble estimation, the man deserves a Trinity Cross, man. So CMO Dr. Roshan Parasram and banker Professor Sterling Frost have been awarded the country's highest honor, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And other members of the Ministry of Health team who led TNT through the COVID-19 pandemic have also taken top honors in this year's Republic Day Awards. Happy Republic Day, Oli. I forget to say that, yes? Happy Republic Day. Oli get a holiday on a Saturday. Oli like that? I take mine yesterday. The list of awardees to mark TNT's 46th anniversary of becoming a republic was issued last night by the President's House. Parasram tops the list of recipients who will be presented with their awards in Napa and so on. We saw the ceremony and we saw the function, right? So I just wanted to take a minute to say kudos to him, respect to him, thank you to him for all the work that he had put in. He says, as Chief Medical Officer, he stewarded the nation through the highs and lows. His unflappable demeanor and his professional approach provided a much-needed calm amidst the COVID-19 storm. He quickly became a household name as he tirelessly provided updates and critical information, engaging the media and the public daily. And I will say the media daily on some questions that really, I mean, some of the questions was outright ridiculous, but he went through all of them. He was not the one to get emotional, and he just answered the questions and brought the place back to some kind of sanity. He has brought his profession to new heights and given unwavering, distinguished, and outstanding service to Trinidad and Tobago. I believe they had a quote from him, did they? I don't see any quote from him, but salute to him. And as far as the medical team was concerned, I was glad to see everybody in a lineup there. Oh, they didn't get the Alsing award, boy, it would have looked bad. A little vexed with me, because he had no people dislike the Alsing but what Terence the Alsing was able to do over the last how much ever years of COVID. Well, you see the man nearly half shed a tear again when he say, this is the last time I'll be seeing you all. It's a bittersweet moment, and I'm going to really miss you all, and talking to the media. I wonder if I could get a little snippet of him. Him shed a tear here.
Yeah. So today is a day tinged with sadness.
Right.
I do feel that you and I, when I say you and I, you and I personally, plus all members of the media,
right.
We really formed a bond over the past 1.5 years.
A bond, it's true.
And I'm really grateful for it.
I too.
And as I said, Richard, you are one who you were here from the very, very beginning.
Oh Lord.
So yes, today is a bit sad, but it's a necessary thing because at the Ministry of Health, we want to move on to dealing with a lot of other issues. Like,
all right, you deal with the other issues on your own, right? Not on my time. But only could I get the man? It's a no award. Get the Alsing. They get a man who saved somebody from drunken. What the Alsing do over the again? Even if you don't agree with the outcomes, the intention, the fact that they spend the time and show up there every single day, and even drive down the promenade and shed a little tear when things was going bad, I didn't deserve a little award. But it's so wicked. Because the man is a politician. Like, all right, okay. But I was going on to the next article. This is from the Newsday by Janelle D'Souza. Members of the Ministry of Health team that kept TNT up to date on COVID-19 related happenings over the past years was celebrated with national awards on Saturday night. Parasram, as we spoke about, Dr. Avery Hines, Principal Medical Officer. Sorry, let me read this the right way, right? CMO Dr. Roshan Parasram received the Order of the Republic of TNT for his work in the sphere of public health, while epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines, Principal Medical Officer Dr. Miriam Abdul Richards, UE lecturer and thoracic care medical specialist Dr. Michelle Trotman, and virologist Professor Christine Carrington all received the Shakonia Gold Medal. Whatever I do to butcher people's name and their profession, I'm sorry, I apologize in advance. I special place mad for Dr. Avery Hines, because he's a man share a little piece of this podcast once before. I find he should have given the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for sharing that, you know what I mean? According to, I read all that already. So salute to Dr. Avery Hines, Dr. Parasram, Dr. Miriam Abdul Richards, Dr. Michelle Trotman, and Professor Christine Carrington. It had my boy who shut down Urvashti and tell her your Google search doesn't equate to Dr. Heinz's years of medical of epidemic. If you know the word. I find it could have given here thing too, but salute to the medical team that went out there and represented for us. Regardless of what you might want to think about them, anybody who puts their hand up and does that type of service to the country on a day-to-day basis deserve any kind of recognition that they could get, especially now that we sort of officially at the end of this pandemic, as far as at least the professionals concerned. Between Terrence D. Elsing, Biden and all come out and say, well, kind of done, we ain't so much done, but I think we are the tail end of it and we know how to manage it and we'll live with it or live around it, and it's not as scary as it was in the beginning of the thing. But you know, I have some things to say about this national award. If you've been listening to this for any time, or if you're tuning into this for the first time, the national award is something that bothers me from time to time. I want to put a few things out there, right, before I move on to the cultural part, because people who listening to this a long time, you don't know where I'm going already. But let me deal with this thing with the medical team. And I want to be clear at the beginning of this topic, right? I am in no way trying to discount anybody who has received a national award. As far as I am concerned, anybody who was considered or has received a national award has done so deservedly. You're not going to get in that conversation unless you're up there in terms of your accomplishments. They have a few awards, like I said, the boy I believe is in Tobago who saved somebody's life. They have a few that are just for acts of bravery and so on. But outside of those, you would have had to live a lifetime dedicated to something, particularly to the service, not just of yourself, but to the country and your community. You're not going to get considered for that if you're not there. So I don't want in any way for what I'm going to say to come across as if I'm trying to slight the people who have received awards already. What I want to talk about is the basis upon which certain awards are given and why there seems to be a roof or a ceiling or a cap on who could receive what type of awards. So I want to start with the medical team. While Dr. Parasram and the medical team are well deserving of what they get, even when you spoke to them, one of the first things Dr. Parasram said, which is he has done consistently throughout the entire pandemic, was to highlight all the nurses and the doctors on the ground. In other words, yes, we do some work, and from a strategic standpoint, we were talking about it, but it took a lot of work from all the nurses and all the doctors. And, you know, those are people who, if you want to talk about people who would have done a great service to the country, they did the service. And I hear people saying, well, all the nurses and them, they get paid to be there. Well, Dr. Parasham get paid too, and Dr. Hines and them get paid. Them men doing that for free. They probably would. But the reality is that they are paid public servants, just like the nurses. But what the nurses were able to do with limited facilities, limited knowledge from the public itself, they have their own fears. They're going on to their own families to whom they could transmit this virus. So it would have been so great to see the nurses honored. And I think I saw a statement coming out from the nurses saying, you know, it would be nice for us to get a national award too. I think it was a missed opportunity. I appreciated the fact that they gave, and this had been bandied about for a long time, that they're saying, boy, Parashuram deserve the Honorary Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. That was being said since COVID was in its height. But, and of course, by extension, his medical team, but the nurses and the doctors who are on the ground, I think we miss a great opportunity. I want to say that the pushback that I was discussing this with somebody earlier, and they was telling me, well, how you get every nurse a Shakonia medal or whichever medal they're going to give them, because how much nurses it have. I want to let you know, if you didn't know before, right, that since the beginning of awards being in Trinidad and Tobago, there have been 2,330 awards given out. Salute to everybody who is an awardee. But we're not talking about a place where it's 10 award give out. And since I think they started in 1969, it's 2,330 awards given out. So I'm not saying, no, all right, we have 5,000 nurses here, just give each one an award. But I want to make reference to something here, right? I was looking through the previous award winners. And you know who won the Trinity Cross in 1987? Let me get the whole list of people who win the Trinity Cross in 1987 and why they win it, right? In 1987, the Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Clinton Bernard, he get a, well, back then it was Trinity Cross, right, which would be the equivalent of Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I think they changed that in 2008. So he's the Chief Justice. I want to let you know as well that almost every Chief Justice has gotten the highest award, right, Trinity Cross. We will get to that. Mr. CLR James, lecturer and writer. Well, this is in 87. Mr. George Weeks, ex-president of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. So George Weeks would be OWTU president. So he get for trade unionism. Let me just make sure I know where he get for Chief Justice, get for law, CLR James get for literature, right? His Excellency, Mr. Noor Hassan Ali was doctor. I'm not seeing the word doctor here, right? So forgive me if I'm wrong. But His Excellency Noor Hassan Ali, President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. You know Noor? They're not saying exactly why he get, but I would assume is president. I want to tell you as well that it seems as though once you reach president, you're ripe for a Trinity Cross or Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So look out for Paula May and thing in time to come, right? They will eventually get it. Also awarded the Trinity Cross in 1987 is Pan Trinbago. So, the whole of Pan Trinbago. Registered as a Steel Band Association and given the award for culture. So this would be a great opportunity, I think, to say, well, all right, we're going to issue this to the Trinidad and Tobago Registered Nurses Association, or whatever association is there for nurses or medical workers who would have been at the front line of this pandemic in several facilities, some of them makeshift. Because we had a facility in Balandra. Remember how frightened people was when the maxi passing for people to go. It's heavy police escort. They didn't want, like, if the police drive by fast, the COVID then go spread. Remember them days? So, and nurses had to find their way up there to man those facilities and so on. So I just thought that with the medical teams being recognized, it was a golden opportunity, no pun intended, to award the organization as a whole. And I'm not necessarily suggesting, I don't know which award you should have given them. I ain't suggesting that you give them the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, but some kind of recognition for their efforts and service would have been nice. But I had that plan before I see they have the budget and his big bonus and ex gratia payment, whatever you call them thing. That's on the way for them. So maybe they was never get no award, but they was gonna get hook up where that is concerned. All right, let me get to my favorite part, which is the cultural part, right? Only know where I stand already. That's the most important part of this award to me, with all due respect to all the awardees. Now, I saw Iowa George. So 4 people in the soca get awarded, right? Which would be Iowa George, the great Marshall Montano, great Penguin, Sedley Joseph, as well as Contender. I wonder if I have a minute to play a little Contender in this episode where people might know the songs from Contender. The next 3 you know, right? Now, both Contender, Iowa, and Penguin would have received the Hummingbird Medal Silver. Salute to them and congratulations. And Marshall Montano would have gotten the Hummingbird Medal Gold, right? I just want to give you an idea of some of the other people who would have gotten the Hummingbird Medal Gold alongside Marshall Montano. And again, I don't want you to take anything I say as any slight on anybody else. And I don't want you to think we're saying to say that nobody else didn't deserve what they get. Because I would assume that anybody who receiving an award is at the height, at the top of their craft. And I would also assume that the people who receive particularly the Trinity Cross or the Order of the Republic, because while there are 2,033 recipients of awards, is 107 people who would have received the Trinity Cross or the Order of the Republic when you combine the two, right? We have 2,330 awardees overall, and 107 would have gotten the top. Well, this year will make it 109, right? So I just want to give you an idea of some of the other people, because again, I assuming that people who win the Order of the Republic is people who are the pinnacle of their craft, or the pinnacle of a craft that matters to the country. So the craft is critical to the country. So in other words, business, justice, and so on. I'll go through some of the names, and then you are the pinnacle of that craft. So along with Marshall Montano, the great Marshall Montano, right? We have Dr. Alfredo Walker, forensic pathologist, Professor Kit Phaipon, engineering education, Clement Luyat, hairstylist and for hairstyling, Mr. Lenny Kumar, wireline operator and cultural ambassador for culture as well, Michael Phillips, managing director of sport, Nicholas Paul, athlete and sport. So we know Nicholas Paul, right? Along with Jeremy Richards, Marshall Sedeno, Asa Guevara, Dwight St-Hilaire, Kashif King, and Shay Lara. I remember some of those names would have been part of the relay team that would have recently been getting their medals upgraded and so on, right? So again, taking nothing away from these fellas, because as far as I'm concerned, Jareem, for the names I know, Jareem Richards, Nicholas Paul, their contributions to our country, or as I say, as I read this many times before, what the national awards mean and what you have to do to deserve it, right? So no knock on them, they deserve it fully. But Marshall Montano and Iowa George, to me, are at the pinnacle of their craft. And the craft that they pursue is a craft that is critical, and it is at the pinnacle of who we are as a people in Trinidad and Tobago. Them men is soca artists. Soca is one of the main things we sell, and soca is one of the only things that could sell out every hotel across this country, Trinidad and Tobago, for February when we have in Carnival. It's one of our greatest exports that we could call ours, because they say the oil and thing is the exporter, but that belongs to everything with oil have a B in frontage. British Petroleum, British Gas, we don't own nothing in there. But what we own and what is ours and our greatest export, because they're on tour for every carnival throughout the year all over the world. So this had to be important to us, I would think. So this is where my difficulty comes in. What does the person who is at the pinnacle of soca have to do to get an order the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? I want to go through some of the names real quick, right? Some of the more popular names. This thing started in 1969. Eh? Some of the people who would have gotten it before would include, let me start with Great Calypso Rose, recipient of the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Well deserved. Rise in 2017. They also have McCandle Dagger, you might remember Dagger. Keshawn Walcott, of course, receiving the gold medal. George Chambers, if you're a prime minister or president in this country, your chances are real good. So I know I was talking about Terence D'Alsing earlier, but wait for it. He won't come in, right? They might do it while they're in power, but it coming at some point in time. Helen Bagwan and Norman Sabga as businessman and businesswoman. Again, business is critical to the country. Two of these people are the pinnacle of business. All you know how I feel about the 1% already. Giselle Salandia, boxer, posthumously received it in 2009. Salute to her. Bertie Marshall and Anthony Williams are steel pan innovators. I only talk about Trinity Cross here. Professor Ken Julian, well known in business circles, up there with the best of them in academic circles as well. The great Brian Charles Lara. We need to talk about what he get for, right? Derek Walcott, same thing. Poet, playwright, professor. Well deserved. You know the name Beryl McBurney? Beryl Eugenia McBurney? 1989, Trinity Cross as a choreographer and dancer, and also somebody who used to make like Fatima Boys come and sweep up inside. I mean, she deserves an award for that alone. Cyril Dupre in 1988, the chairman and founder of Clico. Well, that's all about Pantrin Big already, right? Mr. Randolph Burrows, the old commissioner of police. So there's hope for Stephen Williams and Gary Griffith, and what the one who they now name? I can't remember. And just one more name I want to call for in 1972, Mr. Garfield St. Auburn Sobers. Gary Sobers. Also a national awardee here, Trinity Cross holder, right? No foreigners can get, right? So, and add Dr. Parasram and Dr. Frost to that list, right? So again, this tells me something, because all the names I call there, among some of the others that mightn't be as popular, but I'm sure if we do the research, you would find that they are the pinnacle, they are the top of their craft. They have achieved the highest heights in their craft. So then, sorry, I forget to mention the great Hollis Liverpool Chalk Dust. They didn't get the man for Calypso. They kind of put associate professor of history and the game for education, culture, and research. But right, he's all those things. Well deserved. Most Calypso monarchs of all time. So if these people are the top of their craft and they well deserved, or they would have gotten their order, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago or the Trinity Cross. How then does Marshall get a Hummingbird Medal gold? Again, salute to these fellas. These fellas were so gracious and so grateful and so humble, and maybe that's something I need to learn and take more from. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a moot argument. But I'm not arguing on behalf of Marshall and Iowa, because they're happy to get their award. Them first have money too, them doing good, you know what I mean? Them first good. It's not nothing you could award them or give them again that could show any more success or give them any greater feeling of success than they already have. But I worry not for them, but for the youth who trying to see, all right, now are trying to figure out something. I wanna make a career out of myself. But I'm really good at writing and things, and I love soca music, and I feel I could be a writer and a performer and an artist. Are you telling me that person better off being a civil engineer or a politician or an economist or a minister or a chief justice or or a surgeon? Is that what we're saying? That all those professions more important than the profession of calypsonian or the profession of soca artist? I don't understand what you cannot. I challenge anybody here to make a top 10 list of calypsonians or soca artists and not have Iowa George, Marshall Montano, Super Blue. Which one of them are leaving off the list? Because Super Blue don't have an order Republic of Trinidad and Tobago either. Who would have reached the Pinnacle? Kitchener ain't have one. Did they ever go back and get Kitchener one? Because I ain't see any name on this list. No, if I'm wrong about that, correct me, right? But I ain't see any name on the list. And again, this list from the president website. The president that had to do with this. Sparrow. Where is it? I'm not taking anything away from Garfield Sobers, but it can't be that way saying Sparrow ain't born here. What could be the reason that everybody else recognizing these people as the greatest who have ever done it in the world, and some of them doing it for 40 years, and we relegating them to an award that is not the highest award in the country? Is it that we have no value on what soca brings to the country? Or is it that we have no value on these individuals themselves? Are we trying to cap it and say, well, all right, if we give Marshall Hummingbird gold, that is the highest a soca artist could get. That is the most you could aspire to do. Or you have to outperform him in all different ways and then get it when you're old and grey. Because Marshall started when he's a little child to get to 40 years in the business to get a Hummingbird gold. But I mean, left up to me, I would have the order of the Republic of Trinidad. Because all right, if you want to say, I work for soca and competitions or whatever it is, he also contributes into the culture by having a radio station that plays soca music. All it, you know what I mean? It's so much. But I mean, if you feel like you want to debate a top 10 in soca for me,
call me anytime you want.
Circumstances, or will I just get evicted from this loving safety? Please don't disappoint me.
not this time.
Give me one more wine, one more wine,
One more time.
one more time. Give me one more wine, one more wine, one last time, one last time. I said,
Oh, oh. She bumper fat. I had to get a wine on that. Moving on to more news. The PNM holds a $1,500 ticket gala at Hyatt. Watson, this could be you. This could be you and Farley. $1,500 a ticket to cream in. You don't have to worry about nothing. You don't have to worry about who contracted from Trinidad. You don't have to worry about none of them. You could be PDP could have a $1,500 ball. You know what to do that. You know, me and you and kids. There's no fight. The People's National Movement, I was reading from the Newsday here, right? This is by Sean Douglas, so credit where it's due. The PNM held a gala dinner at the Hyatt Regency Port of Spain on Friday night as a fundraising event. It was due to run from 7 p.m. to midnight. It was titled A September Affair, with the subtitle, Let the Flowers Bloom. I just assume that is Balizé, you know what I mean? Let the Balizé bloom. Guests were asked to dress in informal wear in red, white, or black, preferably red. PNM Secretary General Foster Cummins told Newsday that the price was $1,500. It was a sold-out event, very successful. We had a wide cross-section of supporters from various sectors across the country. We're having a good time. On his Facebook page, Dr. Rowley posted a photo of himself and his wife Sharon before they left for the gala. Rowley celebrated her birthday on Friday. The dinner came ahead of the Republic Bank Day. I get like the man now, Republic Bank Day. We had the Republic Day on Saturday. It also took place as TNT culminated a month-long celebration of its 60th anniversary of independence. The 1962 event, which the party has attributed to its founder and the country's first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, although this eminence was recently challenged by opposition leader Kamla Persad Bissessar, alleging that the United Kingdom had actively been seeking to get rid of its colonies. It had nothing to do with Eric Williams as far as she's concerned. So, salute to the PNM. Salute to the PM too. You know what I mean? The boss, the Rowlers. So, a little clip was going around this week with Rowlers and Sharon taking all that. I don't know if it's Divine Echoes was playing and also Marissa Kagan and them. I don't know if it was Divine Echoes, but the man have a little step in him. You know what I mean? The step look nice. The fella have a little pep in his step. I admire Rowley, you know. One thing I admire Rowlers for. Rowlers is about 70-something years old. And the man fit like a fiddle. I now joined back the gym and trying to work with a trainer there for the first time today. I thought I would have dead. And Rowler, I saw the workout I do today and was frothing tongue on the ground. I sure Rowlers could take on that and do that 3-4 times. You had to salute him. You had to respect that. And they dance and they have a good time. And, you know, the naysayers was there because they say, you know what I mean? They was talking about Sharon and she thing and Rowley thing. And they say they come together for formal occasions and so on to make sure that everything good. You know what I mean? Allegedly. That's what people say. And I also see people remix the song. Well, I don't know why they do that. I want to remix the song for let the people live their life. I also hear people say, me say so, you know, the people will say so. How all the dance, they dance, and they step. I ain't playing the video neither because they ain't gonna set me up and put me no problem. But all the dance, they dance, and they step. He watching so, he watching on this side. He turns so, he watch again. He ain't making no kind of eye contact. I don't know if when you dance with your wife, I don't know if only a wife and these things, huh? But your husband and wife, you know, they're dancing together. Always watch one another at any time during the little jig, you know what I mean? You go watch wrong and thing, but you go also, it's watching she eye and thing. You can't just, I want to only watch back the video yourself. Only have it on WhatsApp and them to get it from somebody if you didn't see it yet, right? But roll it on. And she looking happy, everybody looking happy. But I can tell you, there's very much eye contact and thing making. So me, how true. What they say is, and I don't want to get involved in nobody. You see people home business, them people home business is their home business. And all I here to do is to play a little music and enjoy myself and make sure that we all have a good appreciation for the culture. I would like to play a little song that is from the Great Penguin that is completely unrelated to this story about this $1,500 ticket PNM party and the Rowlers and the Sharers taking a little dance. This song is unrelated to that. This is just to celebrate the Great Penguin. Yes.
Oh,
Hey, what you say? Lyrics, you know?
Sheriff have their deputy. President does have one too. Some
Well, listen, the man say president, and the man ain't say nothing about prime minister. I don't want no problems.
Sheriff have their deputy. President does have one too. Some in each big company.
So we're wrong with me and you.
We have to hustle, we have to struggle, so every man and woman
Deserve a helping hand, a deputy essential.
to keep you living vital. If boredom is a threat, or you start to regret,
A deputy is what you must get. No sweat.
essential to keep you living vital. Don't sit on home and fret. Don't think yourself to death. A deputy is what you must get. No sweat.
Alright, the budget. We're going to go through this fast now. It's a short week. Here, what's going on? Now, let me take away how you feel about the PNM, how you feel about Imbert, what you think about party in power and who you're waiting to vote in or vote out or whatever it might be and your political alliances, right? The budget that them fellas read here in 2022 is not very different from what was being advised when I was in Lockjack studying business in 2004, 2005. At the time, that was the Lockjack are the people who were working on the Vision 2020 document. And also a lot of people in Lockjack end up being a part of the People's Partnership. So for instance, let me give you an idea. Some of my lecturers in Lockjack, right? Was Roger Hossain, economist, Kirk Mayhew, can't remember what he is, but politician, Teres Batiste Cornelis, I remember Teres, Nan Ramgulam. So it was a whole set of Wayne Monroe, a whole set of people who end up in the politics eventually under the People's Partnership. So Lockjack at that time was a hotbed for the discussion about where the future of the country was going. It was no news to anybody that the production of oil is finite, is a non-renewable resource. That is what the word non-renewable means. And it is going to run out at some point in time. It was said in 2004, 2005 while I was there that by the time we start reaching 2020, there's going to be a significant fall off in the production of both oil and gas. And we're living to see it right now. Now, we're benefiting in some ways from several global factors. One of the main ones being what happened in Russia and Ukraine that is keeping that oil price at a level higher than we would expected it to be at this point in time. So when I say higher than we expected it to be, we usually set a conservative budget. The price per barrel of oil for the budget is usually conservative based on projections. So if people think it will be about $40 a barrel, they will set it at about 25, and they set the budget based on a revenue that comes from a $25 per barrel oil price, and that is what we use to guide our expenditure. If the oil price is above 25, it usually triggers some amount to go into the Heritage and the Stabilization Fund, and some could be adjusted to use for future budgets or overruns, which inevitably have, and so on, right? So that's typically the way it goes. At the budget, again, a budget is not much different from you earning your money every month and trying to figure out what you're going to do with your money. So you talk about microeconomics on a micro level. You earning a certain amount of money every month. You have a certain amount that you could qualify for where credit is concerned, and you cannot spend beyond that. And if you go too far on the credit side, you're going to have a problem, right? The only way for you to enjoy a higher standard of living is either for you to increase your income, so you making more money that will allow you to buy the things you want, or for the price of the things that you're buying to fall while you still enjoy the same salary. I don't know if that has ever happened in your lifetime, but I never really see that happen in mine, so that is not what we could hope for. So against the backdrop of everything I'm going to say, on a serious note, one of the things that we always had to focus on is, what is our money doing for us? Our personal money. What is it? Is it that your money is is fully consumed. So everything you have, you're buying to eat, basically. You're buying to eat, to wear, to drive, you know what I mean? You fully consume all your money. Or is your money saved? Is your money in the bank somewhere piling up? Or is your money invested? These are important questions that we have to ask ourselves, because we cannot control what the government do with the budget. They're going to come every year and they're going to do something that most people don't like. We're accustomed to this now in our 40s, you know what I mean? Or better. We're accustomed to it. There's not going to be a budget that is read where you say, yeah, great, everything good. It always going to have issues, because our budget by nature it's showing you a certain amount of constraints. And just like how you can do more with than the income and the credits you could get, I don't know that the government could do anything different with the income and the credit that they could get. We will all, as armchair observers and people who are affected by this, will always find ways to say, all right, well, we should have get a little, you know what I mean? Why didn't give you 4%, why didn't give you 19%, we could have got an increase. Another thing I hear people saying, well, they raise the price of gas immediately. And then the income tax threshold, I think they move it from 6,000 to 7,500. Why they didn't put that immediate too? Listen, they have valid reasons for this. Because if the government was to raise the price of gas by January 1st, 2023, we should probably thank them for not making that decision, because what we would do is create Trinidad and Tobago being the first global nuclear warhead ever created by people rushing and buying tanker gas. Listen, people would have binge buy gas, like always binge watch Netflix. Man would have gone, and the more responsible people among us would have get proper gas containers and find proper storage for it and buy gas every week. They would have buy 2-3 containers and pack up a whole room full of it. But let me tell you something. Most of the people is pigtail buckets. Them gas, you know how much gas people would have buy? All you ever see what happened the night before a budget. The budget was read on Monday. Sunday, you cannot get gas in a gas station, because a man studying it used to take him at 200 to fill the tank, and the uncertainty, he don't know what they will raise it to. But even if they raise it to 225, he save himself $25 there. Can't get him wrong, eh? But if we don't know that is our mentality already, it's almost impossible for the government to come and say we're raising the price of gas as at January. Better you know, brother, that is problems. We'll create the first national bomb ever. And the first time anyway catch on fire in this country, whole country burned down. So salute to the PNM. They save we from becoming a nuclear warhead. But that extra disposable income, if you budgeting your money and you're making a certain amount and prices going up, it's going to erode your money. So this is why I'm asking about what we doing with our money, because one of the first things I learned about finance, and this is a lot, I study for a long time and I learn a lot over the years, but a lot of times what they're teaching us is to run a business on a man's behalf. So while I would have go through plenty years of school and stuff in business, I'd figure out a lot of it as I went along, because they wasn't really teaching you necessarily to run your own business. They was teaching you parts of some Helen Bagwin Singh and Sabga and them business so that you could go and fit in as a cog in that wheel, right? And they also don't teach us much about personal finance either. So one of the things you might find is I was meeting with a financial advisor, with Nick Dean. I was meeting with him and going through some, just his understanding and his experience. And he speaks from the standpoint of having overextended credit so much that the words he uses, he hit financial rock bottom and he had to figure out how to get out of it. So he read books and figured it out, and he's turned that into a successful business, right? The financial advising, coaching center, I think it is. I hope I'm right about that. And he was talking about putting money in the bank. You put any money in the bank, at most you might get 0.001%, which is no money at all on that. And if you leave it there and the prices of goods, as we see it now, going up all the time, it means that if you have a 10,000 in the bank, every single year that 10,000 could buy less and less. They call it nominal versus real income, right? So your nominal income is what the dollar value say. You're making $10,000 a night, a night. Whew. If you're making $10,000 a month, you're nice, you know what I mean? You have some money. But if you're making $10,000 a month and the price of food going up every single month and you still with that $10,000, you're going to be facing a reduction in your welfare, reduction in your well-being, your purchasing power every single month without recognizing it necessarily. And I think it's one of the things about the budget. I'm not sure I don't know if there's the best forum to talk about it, Because everybody vexed. Everybody just want to come and cuss the government the next day and say the government and the wicked. But just a better understanding of it, I think, will help us in our response state where we don't. I can't leave so much of my financial well-being in our next man's hands where he could dictate how much we pay for gas or how much we pay for this or how much we could get or how much tax we have to pay. And then I dead, you know what I mean? I dead in the water. So if it is you're looking at your nest egg that you have in the bank, there might be better ways for you to take care of that nest egg so that you stay ahead of the inflation rate. So if you have an inflation rate of 5-6% or whatever it might be, you're finding ways to invest and make sure that your money stay ahead of that or at least grow along with it so that whatever $10,000 you have, it still could buy $10,000 worth of goods 10 years from now. And it's something that we don't spend enough time talking about or educating people on, and we just spin in this cycle. Because, all right, let me put it this way. If you typically spend your whole income, and like I would have done for many, many years, you know what I mean? I'm talking down to anybody. I'm talking about from myself. I remember my first job. One of my first jobs was in TSTT as an operator working in Nelson Exchange. And TSTT had a summer program, $1,500 for the month, right? You used to get $1,500. Now, I don't know nothing about tax, me know nothing about NIS. All I know, I get a check for $1,500, right? Flat. And I worked the whole month to get that $1,500. Operators usually work in 3-hour shifts. I work in 8 hours for the whole month to get that 50. And I talk more 1997 and 98. Them kind of years, the 99, them kind of time, right? Maybe even before that, maybe 96, 97. And I work and I get this $1,500. And I take myself immediately to the Drag Brothers Mall on Frederick Street. And I bought me a pair of Jordans for $1,500. I can't even tell you the number of the Jordans away. But I got 50. Them days before that is my boy Colonel King. Salute my boy Colonel. Every Jordan I ever wear was Jordan I borrowed from here and squeezed my foot in over the years and look nice, you know what I mean? But this is the first time I get to get my own Jordan. And I went and take my whole salary and buy that Jordan for $1,500. Again, it's a consumption mindset, right? I didn't tell myself, all right, I could put aside $1,000. I living by my mother, I could put aside the whole $1,500. I didn't have to buy groceries, I didn't have to pay a bill, I didn't have to do nothing. But in my mind, I wore them J's. And let me tell you something. If I was to walk to work, I walk into work. I don't care what I do in that month. I carry food every day. I don't want nothing. I don't want to buy nothing. Because I want to make sure when that month then come, I had that $1,500. Oh boy, my mother tell my mother I'm looking for money to travel to work next month. My mother say, boy, what one walk to work, your Jordan and them comfortable. And you like Jordan, you spend your whole salary on a Jordan, walk to work in it, you go feel good. Learn my lessons now. But again, for years I used to do that. You just spend all your money, borrow, you know what I mean? Max out your credit card, do what you have to do, enjoy your life, and figure it out after. You go always be behind the 8 ball and trying to depend on somebody in a budget, and it go always feel hurtful because what a man could really do in a budget? What it could really do to help us? But again, price of gas going up, that typically will signal the price of everything else going up. Because everything had to be transported, everything had to be made, everything had to go into production, right? So, as I see my boy Nico post on Facebook today, as soon as they read our budget in Trinidad, the first thing is hear about is doubles. The last time I buy doubles is $6 a pay. I wouldn't be surprised if it going up again. All taxi fares, all them things, they're going to... let me tell you what's going to happen. Between now and Christmas, they will start to say, well, we're trying to hold our price, and we just had a price increase last year, and we're not going to... But eventually they're going to increase the price. Consumers would also be willing to pay more because, I mean, if you had to get to work every morning, yeah, you have to go. I was trying to talk about elasticity, Eddie, man. Listen, when things is necessities, you have to continue to pay for it. So all this kind of talk I hear people talking about, they ain't paying this and that. And even the Prime Minister's statement of adjusting your lifestyle. No, the reality is that we do adjust our lifestyles. We do it all the time. Your lifestyle is adjust according to what is happening in the country. So you might find that your grocery bill going up, and some of the items that you used to buy before, you're buying less of, you're buying different level prices. So I always use soap powder. You find Tide is the best thing ever. You step back to Breeze. You was buying Breeze all the time. You say about your index washing good, you know what I mean? So we will always make those adjustments. I just find it so strange that the Prime Minister, when asked the question about working from home, basically talked down to the whole population like we don't know about nothing and we don't know productivity and we're ready for technology and all that thing, all that waste of time, and if I implement that, and I'm thinking, but you listen, use the boy, you in charge of this, you lead, and we put you there, right? I think this was forget it working for we sometimes. We, based on what you said that you wanted to do where the country concerned, we put you there. So we were smart. When we put you there, everybody was smart. You was living in a country full of smart people who didn't vote for you and see because we smart and we intellectual and we bright and we vote for you. But as soon as you get in power, we get dotish. We don't know. Some of them don't even work when they're in the office. It's like, well, what are you talking about? You have a glaring thing in front of you to say, okay, we could change our lifestyles, and this is one of the ways collectively that we're going to help you change your lifestyle. We're going to adjust. We're going to allow work from home for X amount of days. We're going to stagger the school system. So if you're working from home, your child could do Zoom sessions on a Monday and Wednesday, and on a Tuesday and Thursday they go to school, and on a Friday. You understand? You're in control of all this. Is the largest employer in the country. As a leader, you talking about people mindset, and listen, you see that talking down to, I don't like it. I don't like it personally, right? Me talking about rollers again. I'm talking about people generally. I don't like people to talk down to me. I don't even like to be around people when they're talking down on other people. It's make me very uncomfortable because all of us is just people, and we just living. We just trying to figure out this. It's not necessary to embarrass people or talk or make people feel like less. But boy, this man have a tendency to like to talk. It's like, if the mentality of the people poor, it shouldn't that be a reflection of your leadership? You in charge for how long now? And your statement to people is, only they work here, I ain't saying we ain't studying that. And listen, that was in your manifesto. That was part of what you said. When we were smart, when we voted, and we were still smart people, that was one of the things we voted in based on that. You say, listen, that is things you're considering, working from home. You want to create a digital society and so on. Now, granted, they have some things in the budget about the digital society, particularly with currency. But I would say we lost one of our young budding best entrepreneurs in if I could remember names, this podcast would be much better, you know. Is it Alwyn Aldrich? We can't remember the man name, but he was doing a cash solution. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of the business. But he was basically digitizing cash. And I know he moved his business to Jamaica because he said it was easier to get stuff done in Jamaica where the banks and so on were concerned, and legislation and all that was already in place for digital currencies to get where they need to be, and digital and online payments, whereas we lagging behind with that sorely. I trying to transfer some money from Scotia to Unit Trust. I as good as Scotia online banking is, I can't figure out how to do that yet. But I can't understand why you would feel comfortable on a perch to basically say, hey, you only had to rethink how all you use fuel. All you have to come to work every day. So let me read that from Ambika Jagasar Singh in The Guardian. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is urging the public to rethink about how it consumes fuel. His appeal came during a post-budget media conference at the Red House in Port of Spain, moments after Finance Minister Colm Imbert announced a hike in fuel prices. Imbert announced an increase in the super and premium gasoline by $1 and diesel by 50 cents. The adjusted prices are now $7.75 a litre for premium, $6.97 for super, and $4.41 for diesel. Let me tell you something. When I buy in a car, the first thing I just ask them is, this thing taking super? I'm not manly enough to drive diesel vehicles, right? I can't drive no pickup and them kind of thing. I'm not blind already. Let me drive my little car. But when I buy in a car, the first thing I want to know is, brother, this taking super? Because I can't afford premium. I couldn't afford premium price before. And now super coming like premium price from back in the day, right? Rowley said adjustments had to be made to the subsidy, and the government made a conscious decision to cap it at $1 billion in order to allocate funds wisely to all other sectors. Is the government's deliberate judgment, after looking at the situation, that we've come into a bit more revenue and that we will not use all the revenue only to subsidize fuel, because you could have done that. It meant we could have done nothing else for the country, including for the people who have benefited from that. So in other words, he's saying that, listen, you could allocate the money somewhere else, right? I must tell you, I have not heard any conversation yet from anybody in this country about how we could begin to operate in an environment where the cost of fuel is increased. How do I reduce my own fuel cost in some case? Maybe you can't do much about it, but you can at least ask, is there a way I can reduce my fuel cost? Do I still need to make all the trips that I make? Do I still need to go as far as I used to go? I wonder if this man hearing himself, boy. You basically saying you not hearing the conversation about adjusting the way we use fuel. Brother, you in charge of this conversation. You could be the leader on this conversation. When they ask you the question to start the conversation about working from home as a viable option, you shut it down by saying we ain't ready for that yet and we don't do nothing when we in the office while you don't work from home. And then anybody asking about why can't we do schools? I don't understand why school children need to be shuttled, in my case, from Chaguanas to San Fernando every single day of the week to spend 8 hours or whatsoever it is there to shuttle them back up the road. I don't know what to do about that gas spending rollers. You got to help me there. I'm not sure what to do about consumption where that is concerned. When I live in Chaguanas, my wife working in Tongue and I working in South, and my son going to school. I'm not sure exactly what to do. I might need your help because after all, you're a doctor and all these nice things. You know what I mean? All fellas bright like hell. All you in charge. We were smart and we vote you in. We need your help on this discussion. You can't be so dismissive. Like and I see the Imbert making our wrongs again, talking about they haven't rioted yet. And you know the thing about Imbert here, right? I want you to go and watch something from on Netflix, right? You know, as a Dave Chappelle, a comedy special, man. I want you to go on Netflix and watch a comedy special called The Bird Revelation. It's a 2-pack, right? It's called Equanimity and The Bird Revelation. Skip Equanimity. Just go to The Bird Revelation. You'll see him sitting down on a stage talking. And Dave Chappelle is going to tell you a story about a man who was immortalized in hip-hop and in Dave Chappelle special by the name of Iceberg Slim, right? Iceberg Slim was a pimp, right? Pimp, you know what I mean? He have his girls and he renting it all for services. Services rendered, right? And he was telling stories about how to control a pimp. So he's saying basically, listen, you have one girl who's your best girl, right? That's who's going to make you the most money. But you have to know how much mileage you have on this, you know what I mean? Use the imagination, right? How much mileage you have on her, because eventually a woman will start to make changes, you change, your body change and all that, and you can't make the money you used to make before for him, right? So you say you had to be able to be real good at estimating how much mileage a girl have and then putting her to work, right? And one of the things he said, and this book was used as a parallel for capitalism, right? I want to make sure you know the name of the book too, just in case you see it anywhere and you feel to buy the book, get it, right? Iceberg Slim book. He was using it as a parallel for capitalism, or how to explain capitalism and what it's about. The name of it is The Story of My Life, a paperback by Iceberg Slim. He also have a book by the name of Trick Baby. So Chappelle was saying that Iceberg Slim was breaking down this idea of what to do with your best girl. You know what he said? Beat her with a hanger, a wire hanger. So there's his philosophy. If you beat her with a wire hanger, right? Imagine what that would look like with people's skin and how traumatic an experience that would be. He said, but when you're done beat her, run a bath for her. You know what I mean? Run the bath and make sure you thing and soothe the wound and make sure you take care of her then. He said, and she will be so glad that you take care of her that she will forget you is the one who beat her. And you listen, you use it as a parallel for capitalism. Eh? And we would call it Stockholm Syndrome, all those types of things. We go through this all the time. This is not a story about abused woman. There's a story about us in capitalism. Because what Imbert's saying is they haven't read it yet is very similar to what Iceberg Slim talking about. It's like, hey, if I beat you all the time and then I come and fix the very thing that I caused, at some point I will be revered as a hero and probably given an order to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and a Trinity Cross for being one of the greatest prime ministers or presidents or chief justice or commissioner of police or religious leaders that they ever had by just basically destroying something and then fixing it back, even if you fix it halfway, people so grateful. And you see this budget here, it reminds me of this a lot, because let me tell you what is going to happen. Because a big part of this budget get allocated for road works, right? Almost in a celebratory fashion. They say, hey, look how much we put for a road. So listen, these men sit down there, watch your roads get deteriorated. I keep saying I have a cousin by the name of Carla who always showing you the roads in Roystonia in Couva. It is an obstacle course. I can't remember the name of the road she talk about, but boy, it's terrible. Other man is go and play cards. So my boy Eddie, I go and play card by Eddie in Roystonia. And I usually late like hell and trying to fly down that back road. Now you have to take your time. You have to roll your wheel one at a time to get on there. And them men putting together a budget now because they have effectively in 2 years you have a big election to run and local government election coming and PDP and them fellas can't get along over. So this is time to mash gas now. So what they do in the wise words of Iceberg Slim is you beat you with a hanger to make sure that we pay the highest gas price and making sure you have no subsidy where they're concerned. That most of a lot of the benefits that were there before starting to be withdrawn. And so that is the licks we get in the angle. The road system terrible. The road condition, they're terrible. I hear a man ask a good question in the radio the other day. He say, them men talking about vehicle fitness. What is called it down in a fitness inspection? They say if I get in charge for my vehicle not being up to mark and my vehicle not being inspected, who inspecting the roads? The roads not up to scratch. Down to the highway. Boy. So all that is a licks with the hanger. Your job is to do this, but you neglect that for so many years. And then when you come to fix it now, you celebrate it and laud it. And I'm not talking about what them doing, I'm talking about we. Because we're going to be the ones who say they do such a great job in hindsight and thing. And look how the roads look and all the roads smooth. And all. It's the same thing with the 4%. You know? Beat you with a hanger. Don't negotiate nothing. Let the thing delay and go season into season. From 13 they say it is. And they negotiate it and done yet. To say now in the budget, but if we were to pay a back pay now, it's going to cost the economy hundreds of billions of dollars. It's already costing us 121 billion. And this is the most. We cannot pay a cent more. It's like, dude, you were supposed to be negotiating this on a 3-year cycle, if I'm not mistaken, and settling them things now. The back pay must add up. If you do, so in other words, you beat people at a hanger, keep them on a certain amount of salaries for how much ever years. And then when it's time to run their bat with a 4%, you have to train out $1.2 billion like it's meaningful to people in some way. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, the budget is what it is. It's not much different from what I've seen before. I think everybody would have seen it coming. I just more interested in how I'm going to adjust myself to make sure that I have enough of an income. I have a second income and I have some passive income. So I'd like to take this opportunity to let people know that if you're interested in podcasting, you can reach out to me. I could produce and edit your podcast and discuss some ideas for a small fee. How much is this to fill the tank now? My tank was done costing 200 and something to fill. And I driving from Chaguanas to South all the time. I go in town once a week. And so my tank, just short of a week, I must be able to fill my tank 5 times a month. So that's about 300 now, maybe to fill it by 5. So what I could do is find 5 people who want to do a little podcast. You can do it once a month. Me care. If I find 5 people, I'm charging you $300. It's a steal of a deal. Run and come in. Just get your podcast here. How you do ads? Get your podcast here now. If you're interested in doing a podcast, you can reach out to the Corey Shepherd Podcast. We can edit, post. We doing anything. If I could get somebody else to pay my $300 a week to pay for my gas money, I good. And figure out some ways of passive income. So, for instance, the stock exchange, where you buy a basket of stocks on Trinidad Stock Exchange, you're going to make 6%. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different. You just close your eye and don't do that, right? But there are some stocks where you're not going to miss solid companies. You're going to make 6% a year on your money. I was watching a show on Netflix the other day. I was talking about the S&P index. I believe he was telling the fella, he said, boy, regardless of what happened, they're going to do 10% a year. So they do a little process called dollar cost averaging. You just take the same amount of money, you put it in there every year, which means you're buying more at the lower price. Once the price low, you're buying more. Once the price high, you're buying less, and it will always get you. The longer you can hold it and maintain it, you will get 10% there. That is a way to create a little passive income for yourself and make sure that your money increasing in value and staying ahead of the inflation curve, because there's not much to wait on for these people. And then the in terms of the income tax threshold, that's another thing that I was not very good at in TSTT back in the day. I used to pray for income tax to fall so I could get more money, but the more money for me would always be to spend it. So I'm eager to see what this little $1,500 a month additionally that can be taxed. What does that mean to me in terms of increase in salary? I take it as a salary increase. And with that little bit, I don't care how little it is. I want to take that little now and put it in either two places. Either to invest so it could grow in some way, or towards some kind of debt that I could pay off faster. That is my plan. I hope you have a plan too. Let me come out of this thing where we say no, and the government. It don't matter to me what them do. I still have to figure out how to make some money. And just to let you know, in this podcast that late this week already, I'm starting back to lecture on Saturday. So look forward to little hard times where release dates are concerned. Talking about hard times, two little hard time stories I had to get to before we get out here. Well, first, CPL finished, right? You see, this is why Penguins are deputy essential. I just wanted to be known that I back in Guyana from the beginning. I was never back in no TKR. But TKR wants a full regroup and I come again, because it didn't look good this year. We never looked like we were threatening. We never get together. Boy, listen, usually I could count on Colin Monroe and Seifert and them to do a thing at some point in the tournament, but imagine we have Pollard, we have Andrew Russell, we have Pura, and it just never happened for us this year. So salute to the Guyana Amazon Warriors and the Barbados, because I think that is the two teams to beat. I'm hoping. I like Guyana bad enough, so I want Guyana to win. But between Guyana and St. Lucia, you know what I mean? If one of them teams win, I think those are the two teams who never win one. And it would be real nice to see them win. The other piece of sad news outside of CPL is I watch. We was talking about the robbery last week, right? Where these youth men basically throw away their life trying to rob a Pennywise cash carrying van. I guess the security company in the L200 secured vehicle. And you know what's sad to read or watch? I watch Ian Allen interviewing these parents. I remember real early in this podcast, maybe within the first 10 episodes, I was talking about this good boy thing. You know, the mother says he's a good boy and he was a good boy and that kind of thing, right? And trying to empathize with the mothers who would say things like that. That's not the time to say anything bad about the people. The thing that happened already, lost a child. I mean, losing a child would be hard. Even if that child was the worst behaved child it had, he was a menace to society, whatever name you want to call it. A mother losing a child, what the woman to say? The woman going to say, listen, he was a good boy, he was very nice to me. I remember I have a cousin who was, he chose a part in life, let me put it like that. But I remember the pastor and all talking about some good things he had done when he before he was killed. And you know, I myself, I only have good memories of him. I know he do the bad to one thing, but it hurt me to lose him. It was a hard funeral for me to go to. As a youth man, I grew up with me and him, grew up close, and you always know he was at risk of hearing that news with the life he chose, but still it was not a nice thing. So I always feel for parents in situations like these where they come in and they're saying, hey, you know what I mean? My son was a good boy and crying for the son. You can't vex with him. I remember in Narcos when Pablo Escobar mother bawling for him and talking about how good he was. That's our mother. What do you expect them to do? But from the news they hear there's almost secret bandit. Parents of dead suspects shocked by fatal heist. And listen, it takes a lot for parents to come out and say some of the things that some of these parents say, right? So, for instance, condemning their son for being part of Monday's deadly heist in Laramie, the parents of deceased bandit Greg Dudu. Even when they say deceased bandit, I mean, my heart's too sore for these things. So I was real vexed last week and I was like, these fellas deserve to death, but now I'm feeling sad. Everybody man they're deceased bandit, but I guess that's what he is, you know what I mean? And when they apologized to relatives of the victim, saying his actions left the entire family in shock. These are words from the family, right? The victims were innocent people. We are saddened by their deaths. There's nothing we can possibly say to comfort their families. We want to reach out, but we cannot. You know what I mean? It's such a hard position to be in. We did not know about this part of his life. It's a secret. You know, I even went on to hear them to read that they were saying he never had to ask anyone for anything. The family provided for him. Plus, the money he worked for was his. We were all shocked as the world. It seemed he picked up by bad company. My child grew up sheltered. People who know the family know my child. If he went out at night, I wouldn't sleep. I would be checking up on him. I used to watch my child like a hawk. It seemed to be really, really rough. There's more than one of them situations where parents just defending the children, because you could see some of the parents was like, it's not about them. They make their choice. They die. They kill innocent people. That's not right. And one mother says she glad he gone. You know what I mean? So maybe he was one of them who was living on that side of life. But the other youth seem to be like genuine good boys. I see Ian Allen interviewing them, and they're saying, you know, their son as well as one of his friends, they said these nice boys, they're always coming over talking about adopt him, and you know what I mean? They eaten by them. The father and the mother, there is so much a shock. And Ian Allen wants improving his interview skills too, you know. Hey, Ian Allen himself asking the people the same question over and over, like, he was sure he wasn't out there, and they didn't know, they know nothing. I know if you say nothing, the answer could change. People telling you, the man was like, he didn't know. At one point, Ian Allen was also like, they say he was driving wrong in a Range Rover, and the father said, but I work hard for my things. I want to give him the best in life, as would any father for a son. So, boy, listen, the tragedy of that story will always be the people who are innocently working and end up dead for nothing, really. But as I will always say, like some situation, like our definition of a victim is too narrow sometimes, you know what I mean? And these youth men, and I see they have a soldier in custody. But I hear the soldier lawyer saying there are no more evidence, so they need to release the client, and them thing he present evidence to show that the vehicle is stolen. And I think to myself, this soldier know these people. He know the 4 youth men. So your friend thief your car is what you're trying to say, your friend. But boy, I hope justice come to the other 2 who were involved in this. I only hearing about the soldier and hearing about the next person, and it seemed as though the story with the mother fizzled out, because they were saying at one point, I think I talked about it last week too, where the mother it was rumored that the mother had sent some signal to the son to say the van leaving now, but apparently that is not the case, and she released. But that's one of them sad stories. But I was planning to play this song from this youth man Kalanjia, but I don't even want to go through it, because he and all after that statement last week, everything he do seems, it's hard to believe in the genuinity of the things he doing. So he put out a song about Brianna. I think this song is about Bri. And he's singing about the pain and the pain that he left and how he's so sorry. And nice little song. I mean, as an artist, you could see the youth man as an artist, because to put together that song out of that pain in that short space of time would not be an easy thing to do. Assuming too among youths, because he seemed to have a lot of support. Well, I guess his followers will support him, but even on MYB and those pages that are posting it, like youth saying, like, you're hearing the pain in the voice and them kind of thing. Maybe I too old, my hearing, I deaf on one side. I ain't so much hearing, so much pain in the voice. But it's a good song. And he talking about his lifestyle, almost saying his lifestyle and his choices led to this. So I just hoping that he, even the tragedy that he just went through, would see more of the tragedy that these other youth men went through in South. And started, you had too much talent to be going, whatever road he was going down that you singing about that caused this thing. But you try and find your way out that road, but it's a hard road, and it's a hard road to turn back from, but find your way out. You're a talented little youth man, you're your music thing. Focus on the music. These Trinidad artists, too much of them want to be gangster and artists and them thing, and they say, you can't be a gangster and an artist at the same time. Gangster is being hidden. When you talk more real gangsters, and them men don't come out. Them not trying to be seen nowhere and no popular and on a stage, because I mean, if you're a gangster and you're on a stage, you're the easiest man to pick off. So hoping that Kalanji change up and make this thing better for himself. So I want to end this episode by revisiting this thing about this order of the Republic of Trinidad. Salute to Iowa, to Penguin, to Contender and Marshall on the national awards. Again, I ain't taking nothing away from them. And it's amazing to see how humble and grateful and happy these guys were collecting the national awards. But my stance is that if the pinnacle of soca music, the pinnacles of soca music could be getting any award or considered for any award in this country that is not the highest award in the land, it making me question what does soca music and our culture really mean to us. It had no way higher to go than these gentlemen. And I want to leave by playing a song from two gentlemen who I believe have done everything it takes to become the Order of the Republic, or to receive the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for their contribution to culture. And the song says it all.
Soca Kingdom, Soca Kingdom, Soca Kingdom. Who ready? We now start. Get ready, day. Set a bong start. Meet we on the way. We lining up, ready to charge ahead. Forward is not enough. I want you to jump up. Trample the ground now. We headed to downtown. Girl all on the railing. So much woman are trailing. Follow the big song.
Hear the Order of the Republic coming. Hear the Order of the Republic here.
All of the kingdom come down. Time to show me your waves. Time to get out of line. You're born and ready for pace. Come and wind in the roadway. All in front of the gateway. All in front of the people. Business place. This is the kingdom. Wine and free it up. Wine and free it up. Free it up. Wine and free it up. Wine and free it up. Every beat and edge. Free it up. Wine and free it up. Every road is a stage. Free it up.
I ain't hear no kind of hummingbird in this song at all.
Wine and free it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wine and free it up. Wine and free it up. Why, yeah, yeah, yo. Free it up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Free it up. Why, yeah, 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 yo. Free it up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wine and free it up. Free it up. I want you to throw your waist. I want you to throw your waist. Give me that attitude. Now it's a whining mood. Don't give me no bumpy face. Somebody go take your place. Better not play the fool. They're rushing it down like food. You're waiting a long time. Enough of the standby. Head up to the front line. Get ready for more wine. If you're fed up of frustration, get to the formation. Now is a celebration. Cause the kingdom come down. Time to show me your waves. Time to get on the line. You're born and ready for pace. Come and wind in the roadway. All in front of the gateway. All in front of the people. Business place. This is the kingdom. Wine and free it up. Wine and free it up. Free it up. Wine and free it up. Wine and free it up. Every beat and edge. Free it up. Wine and free it up. Every road is a stage. Free it up. Wine and free it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wine and free it up. Wine and flick. That is Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. As a matter of fact, if Tobago separate and Watson and them get away, they should get the national highest award in Trinidad and in Tobago, because they're two of the great. What you want to achieve again? And I want to recognize the work that's being done to it, because it feel good today when I went to pick up my son that I drive up Leroy Cali Street. You understand? And I turn across Bobby Muhammad Lane. I like that. And I make a wrongs and I come down Lord Shorty High Street. And when I reach on Harris Promenade to pick him up, I close my eye and picture is like, and Harris is a great relator, you know what I mean? He's great. I say it had to be related to talking about when they talk about Harris Promenade. It can't be nobody else. But we had to have a higher respect for our culture than to be considering the greatest to ever do it for any award but the greatest award. But that's just me. I will see you all in next week. All you have a safe week. All you be productive. All you be good. All you the Prime Minister say, don't foobar the gas. Drive slow. You know what I mean? Drive close. And don't drive to so much different places, right? Except to work and school every day. You know what I mean? Just control all yourself and have a good week and a safe week. And I will talk to all you next week.